Welcome to part 2 of answers to your questions. If you like what you see, please subscribe. There'll be many more of these question and answer videos to come because we had so many questions. All right, enjoy.
He also asks, which tab is better? What a open-ended sort of infinite question. So all I'm going to do is say my favorite tab. It was the AAE Cavalier tab, Cavalier Elite tab, I think it's called. I used that for like 20 years. Now I'd probably go and buy the Shibuya. I really quite like the Shibuya tab.
Yeah, and we did a video on this. I can't remember if it was on your channel or my channel, but we talked a little bit about tabs.
Absolutely, I'll show it on the screen here, and I'll put the link in the description as well if anyone wants to watch that deep dive. But that's my general highlights, and you're pretty much on board with that. No, you have another tab.
Yeah, so I'd say the tab that is better is the one that suits you, and it's going to be different for everyone, which is, I think, that's pretty universal. But if it's a complete beginner, the Black Widow, I think, is a great learner tab.
Yes, it is.
And if it's someone more advanced, I probably would recommend the Win and Win 360 tab because it's, again, really small, that kind of thing. Okay. I do love the AAE tab as well because a lot of people seem to like it. You can grind it down a lot, all those kind of things. But yeah, there is no best tab. And I think that video is probably, if someone wants to deep dive, is the way to go.
Yeah, I'll put that in the description. Which is the best glove? Okay. I have no idea. I've never even worn one, never tried one. It's just not in my ballpark. Sorry.
I'd have to say the same. Maybe find the one that Frangili was using in 2000 and I can't remember what it was.
1996.
In 1996. That might be a good starting point, but other than that, I have no idea.
All right. Next question. What do helical fletchings do, and what distance are they good for? Now, if I take that as from both compound and recurve, what they do is they spin the arrow. So like with any gun has rifling in the barrel. So when your bullet comes out, it's spinning. Spinning things maintain their trajectory better than they maintain the direction better than things that are not spinning. So we use these fletchings to give the arrow a spin, and that helps maintain its direction towards the target. What distance are they good for? I don't think I've ever met a top archer who isn't using a fletching that generates a spin. So I guess the answer is every distance. But of course, I wouldn't use a feather with a big helical on it for anything greater than anything other than 25, 18 or 20 meter shooting indoors. But outside Ash, AC, X10 arrows, we still, on the recurve and the compound, we still put fletchings on there to generate a spin, don't we?
Yeah, exactly. And I think some fletches, the confusion has come here from some fletches are particularly marketed as like helical, right? But actually, in reality, all of them have something that has a slight angle and makes the arrow turn.
Or
and even if they don't massively.
Or we put them on the jig. So even a straight plastic vein, every time I put them on an arrow, there's always
an angle,
2, 3, 4 degrees angle. I want it's almost on an X10, it's as much angle as I can get without the fletching sticking out the sides,
Yeah.
Because we need that spin. And every time someone does testing, a spinning arrow outgroups a non-spinning arrow. But it just depends, I guess, on the you're not going to use a really high drag fletching for the long distance.
Yeah, exactly. And people might be thinking like, well, spin wing, for example, that's not like helical. It has a little bit, but then you put them on at an angle anyway. If you look at the packet and you do them correctly, you do actually need an angle. Some people do more of an angle than others, but that angle is what makes the spin. Interestingly, this is why there was a period where Brady and a couple of the other American athletes were shooting 4 fletches. They thought that it was giving more spin because there's more fletches. But I was actually at the training center at the time when they did this, and one of them used the high-speed camera to kind of like measure the turning of the arrow. Perfect. And basically they found there wasn't a big difference in the turning of the arrow, but the drag was higher, obviously. And it's no surprise everyone is back to shooting normal 3 fletches.
I guess the other thing I can add to this is maybe it's 10 or 15 years now, Spinwing, who are the leader in recurve fletchings by far, they brought out a fletching with even more spin on it called the Elite Fletching.
Yeah.
And really that's proven unsuccessful. It didn't, lots of people have tried them, but really there's very few people who use them now. They were just, it was a good design and it generated more spin, but that just didn't seem to, the extra drag didn't seem to outweigh the benefit.
Yeah.
And generally, I think we all tried them, and I think generally there's no one really left shooting them. Is that fair to say? I think
so. I tried them as well, and that is exactly what happened with me. Yeah.
they're not terrible. I mean,
No.
but over time, everyone realized no, and they've sort of died of death.
Yeah, definitely.
How important is carbon arrow roundness tolerance? Now, I don't know about the roundness, but if we talk about carbon arrow tolerances, I don't know if it's going to help anyone in any way get any extra points, but in general, the important thing with compound is having a set of arrows that are as close as possible in spine. The most important thing with the recurve is that they have the most consistent spine in 360 degrees. That's the way I've found it. So that means compounds can get better scores with all carbon arrows compared with recurve. So all carbon arrows are not as consistent in every direction. So some compounds can get good scores with them. They can also get good scores with the aluminium compound arrows, but they can get world-class scores with an all-carbon arrow off a compound because it hardly bends. If you're not sure about what I'm talking about, if you watch my videos listed here and here, you'll see the recurve arrow is bending 2, 3, 4 centimeters as it flies, and the compound arrow is shimmering like 1 centimeter. So the spine on the recurve, because it's bending so much, has to be consistent. And because the arrow is spinning, like we just said about the helical fletchings, it's basically testing the spine in every direction. So having a consistent 360 degree spine, which is what the aluminium carbon arrows are so good at, that's the most important thing. Now, I think that's correct with all of my science and research, but I don't think it helps anyone particularly.
I think that's exactly right. Yeah.
Recurves should try and buy aluminium carbon arrows. Compounds, you've got more options available to you. I would still buy the aluminium carbon arrows from Easton, but you've got more options on a compound than you do on a recurve. Does that sound reasonable?
Yeah, and also like when you're looking at those arrows on a recurve, if we're just talking also about the tolerance on the group of arrows, like it is definitely going to help you score better. For example, X10s have I can't remember what it is, plus or minus 0.005 or whatever. That is going to be better than maybe ACEs that's like plus or minus 0.01. I'm just making those numbers up. I can't remember exactly what they are. But to mirror what you said as well, I've seen exactly that with the full carbon arrows. Compounds can shoot really, really well with, I'm not going to name names, but a certain brand of carbon arrows, and they can shoot world-class scores with them. And then Recurve Archer has got that same arrow, the Recurve version, and done bare shaft testing at 30 meters. And that bare shaft testing at 30 meters with X10s, you would expect all of them to be in the gold.
Yeah.
And the full carbon arrows, just everywhere. Like some of them missing the paper of the whole target face.
Okay.
Because of that roundness tolerance. So yeah, I'd say a strong reason to avoid for recurve, full carbon, because it does matter.
But I stress, people don't realize the difference in how much they bend. Watch those high-speed videos and it's all painfully obvious why it's more important for recurves.
Definitely.
If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. And if anyone is looking for some one-to-one online coaching, all the details are in the description. And until next time, good shooting.